Okay, if you were to have your students write a paragraph, how many periods would you see? If your students were anything like my former fourth graders, you would see exactly one period at the end of the world's longest run on sentence that may or may not be related to the topic that they were supposed to write about. Paragraph writing was such a challenge for my students. And this always made me a little bit nervous because by the end of the year, my students had to write two 5-paragraph essays. And I always wondered, how am I going to get them to write these essays if we can't even create a well-organized, clear, coherent paragraph? And ultimately, my approach of giving students prompts week after week didn't really work. And that's because I was having them continue to practice something that they always struggled with. And it wasn't until I was out of the classroom that it really hit me. My students didn't need more practice with prompts. They didn't need to continue to reinforce the skills that they already struggled with. What they needed was a system. They needed a simple step-by-step process that really broke down the process of paragraph writing into manageable steps that they could follow with confidence. Hey there, I'm Sarah Marie, creator of the Stellar Literacy Collective and host of the Stellar Teacher Podcast. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through a proven routine that is going to help even the most reluctant writers learn how to create a well-organized and detailed paragraph. Let's be honest, teaching writing is challenging and writing is really overwhelming for students. There's a lot of cognitive demands that are placed on students when we assign a writing task. They have to think about the content. They have to think about what they're going to say. They have to think about how to formulate sentences. They have to think about spelling, handwriting, punctuation, all of the rules of grammar. That's a lot for them to think about. So if we can give students any sort of step-by-step process or framework to follow, that's going to reduce the cognitive load and make it easier for students to follow through with a writing task. So we have a 6-step process that you can teach your students for any paragraph. And the great thing about this step-by-step process is once students learn how to do it, they are able to apply it, whether it's responding to a writing assignment, writing about reading, or even answering a question in science or social studies. So let's talk about what's included in this step-by-step system. Step 1 is brainstorm and outline. This step is really about giving students a starting point for their actual writing. You can give students something like a bubble map where they can brainstorm all of the details that they might want to include in their paragraph. Now, this next part, the outline, is something that we often see missing in a lot of upper elementary classrooms. When we think about the traditional writing process, we have brainstorming, drafting, revising, editing. But to go from a bubble map to drafting a paragraph is really difficult. So the outlining component is really important in this first step. So students are going to create an outline that includes a topic sentence, 3 to 4 details, and a concluding sentence. And they're going to take a look at the bubble map that they created and the details that they put on there. And they're simply going to decide what details do I want to include in my paragraph and what order do I want to share them in. And the cool thing about an outline is students can use symbols, short notes, simple words, even little graphics or illustrations to let them know what they want to say in their paragraph. So the outline doesn't even have any complete sentences. So it's such an easy way for students to get started with the writing process. Brainstorming and outlining is really helping students build confidence. They've decided what they want to write. Now they just need to turn those ideas into sentences. Step 2 is to have students generate a topic sentence. We don't want to just tell them to go ahead and write all of the sentences in your paragraph. Remember, we're trying to break this down into small, bite-sized steps that are really manageable for students. Students are going to take a look at their outline and they're going to think about what they're going to say with their topic sentence. And something that we like to have for students do is not necessarily write just one topic sentence, but we like the idea of having them write 2 or 3 topic sentences, and then they get to pick which one they like the best. This will encourage students to slow down a little bit, and it also reminds them that we can be revising from the very beginning. Now, to help students develop different and interesting as well as well thought out topic sentences, you can give students a framework or examples of topic sentences that they might want to include in their writing. So you might suggest that one of their topic sentence options is a simple statement. Another one might be a sentence that includes an appositive, and a third option might be a topic sentence that begins with a subordinating conjunction. Encouraging students to write a variety of topic sentences has them thinking about sentence structure and sentence variety from the very beginning. And then, like I said, having to pick the strongest one reminds them that revision is something that we can be doing all throughout the entire writing process, and we don't have to wait to the very end to be revising our writing. Step number 3 is to draft the details. This is where students are going to take the ideas in their outline and turn them into full sentences. And this is often where students get hung up with the writing because they're having to do, the bulk of the work when they're drafting details. But because we've already written out our topic sentence and we've already created an outline with our notes, this step isn't as overwhelming as students might think it is. What they're going to do is they're going to go back and revisit their outline. They're going to look at the notes, symbols, and maybe little icons that they drew for each detail, and they're going to turn each note into one complete sentence. A really easy way to support students through the drafting process is to have them look at the notes on their outline and simply ask, what do I want to say about this idea? From there, they're going to write their sentence, and we can encourage them to use strong vocabulary, specific details that are really going to be relevant to that specific idea. But it's easy because they're only writing one sentence at a time based off of the notes in their outlines. Step 4 is going to feel really easy to students because all they're doing is writing their concluding sentence. Once the body of their paragraph is done, we're going to have them write their final sentence. You can remind students that their concluding sentence should really be similar to their topic sentence. We want our paragraph to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so we want the beginning and the end to really mirror each other. Now, a really easy thing that you can do is have students go back and revisit the topic sentences that they already wrote, but they decided not to use. So rather than having to come up with something all on their own, they might want to use one of the topic sentences that they did not include in their paragraph and add in transition words like ultimately, in conclusion, or to sum it all up. This really makes it easy for students to create a cohesive paragraph with a clear beginning, middle, and end. Step number 5 is to have students revise and edit their paragraph. Now, this is really where students have an opportunity to make their writing better. Revision is really one of the most important parts of the writing process. And if you give your students the right support, it can be one of the most powerful things that they do. And it also doesn't have to be overwhelming. The reality of it is that there are many different revising strategies that we can teach our students. But there are 4 that if you focus on, they can really make a big impact on helping your students improve their writing. And here's the really great thing. You don't have to teach your students all of these revising strategies at once. We always suggest that you introduce one strategy at a time, and then once students have mastered it, you can add another one to their toolbox. 4 strategies that you want to teach your students as you're working your way through this paragraph writing routine would be to have students improve their word choice, add in transition words, expand details, and then vary their sentence structure. The key is not to teach these strategies all at once, but introduce them one at a time. If you're just starting with this routine, simply pick one revision strategy to introduce to your students, and then you can always build from there. Now, once students have finished revising, we're going to have them move on to editing. This is another step that might feel overwhelming, but just like revising, we're not going to put too much on our students' plates at once. We're going to simply start small and teach them one editing opportunity at a time. So maybe you start with having them take a look at capitalization, moving on to punctuation, having them think about spelling, grammar usage, and so on. We don't want to overwhelm our students by pointing out all of the things that they could do to improve their writing, but simply point out one small thing that they could change to make their writing look a little bit more polished. Step number 6 in the paragraph writing process is to have students publish. So yay, your students have finished creating their paragraph. It's time to have them publish and celebrate all of their writing. You can have students write their paragraph by hand and focus on using their best handwriting, or you could have them experiment with using a word processor and they could type out their paragraph. Publishing ultimately can give students a really strong sense of accomplishment and can help them really just solidify the process that they went to. But keep in mind, this step really is optional. We don't need our students to publish every single thing that they wrote. The benefit of writing really happens in the brainstorming, the outlining, the drafting, the revising, and editing. So it's okay to have your students work through the paragraph writing process and not have them publish every single thing that they write. So let's review the 6 steps to paragraph writing. First, we're going to have students brainstorm and outline. Then we're going to have them write their topic sentence using 3 different sentence structures. Then we're going to have them draft their details by revisiting their notes and turning every single note into at least 1 sentence. Then we're going to have students write their concluding sentence. We're going to have students revise and edit, and we're only going to teach them 1 strategy at a time. And then if time allows, you can have students publish their writing. And the whole goal of this routine is to break down writing into small, bite-sized steps that are manageable for your students. So let us know in the comments if you feel like these small bite-sized steps are something that will help your students master paragraph writing this next year. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like it and then subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll be notified the next time we release a video. We always hope you find our videos helpful. Until then, happy teaching.